Hey YouTube, Mark Coffman here, and today I am finally going to be doing my review of the CRKT #3 Pilar. And this knife, I've actually tried making this review of this knife probably 4 or 5 times. And this knife was generously donated to the channel by Jason at nebuQloud, and I have had a really tough time connecting with it. I don't really know what it's been, but for me, at first I really liked the knife. I had a few nitpicks with it. It was a great knife, felt great, really looks good. It has done a lot of things right, but a few things wrong. And I'll start with what it hasn't done well, which is what is wrong with the knife. And this is coming from this sample that I was given. I don't know anything about the other samples or other production models, but I'm going based upon what I have here in my hand. I have to say the lock bar tension could be a lot better. I've felt that this has been, it's really weak. I mean, I feel like that lock bar moves over very, very easily. And I don't know if that is because they want to keep that detent real nice and light so you can do all these different flicking options. But for me personally, I just feel like that lock bar in severe and heavy use, especially in what I've used it for, it feels like it buckles a little bit. It really I mean, like it doesn't feel like it's pushing this way. It doesn't feel like this way it's giving a lot of pressure and pushing against the blade to keep it open. It just really has quite a, I mean, it just feels very, I don't want to say flimsy because I mean it's a strong lockup, but it just feels like it buckles and would become unlocked very easily with heavier use, or if you're using gloves and your glove gets caught in here, it doesn't take a lot to move that over, and I don't really like that. The other thing is Jason pointed this out in his review, these angles and edges here are very sharp, really sharp. He actually sent this one over to me to have it have a few things modified on it. I'm not modifying the blade or anything, just trying to fix some of those issues. And so the edges on this are a little sharp, but versus the original, the deployment hole here is actually very, very well done. The stone washing on this really did help round out some of those sharper edges. So right now it's a very easy and a very fidgetable knife, and it doesn't really hurt my thumb or anything like that opening it like the other ones were. The original, I remember having an original one. I've had 3 Pilars, and the hole here, the deployment hole, felt very sharp and very I'll just say aggressive. But you see, the detent is so weak on this that I sometimes feel like maybe it would even come open. I mean, it doesn't shake it. Well, it does shake open if you really try, but it feels weak for the sake of being able to open it in so many different ways. And I would prefer to have more strength in my lock bar going that way, holding the knife locked, than it allowing me to open it in all these different ways. The other thing I just don't really like, and this isn't really for this knife, actually. This isn't for this knife specifically, but what I don't like is I really feel like when CRKT released this knife, they should have re-released the Pilar 1 and Pilar 2 with the IKBS bearings. And I feel like that would have really been a really great release, because then you'd have IKBS in the 3, the 2, and in the 1, especially with the 2 being a flipper. I think that would be a natural addition to that model, and they didn't do that. And for me, this upgrade feels like an upgrade for the sake of it being number 3, whereas I think they should have upgraded all the models. That would have been, man, that would have been really cool. Like if they could have released this and then said, we've also done this IKVS upgrade to the Pilar 1, which is a fidgety knife by itself, which would have been a great upgrade for that. And then for the second one would have also been good. So that's a thing they could have done, and I'm sad that they didn't do that. The other thing I don't really like is, well, and this is going to be really controversial, but I really don't like the design. The design for me, and this is why it has taken me so long to do this review, is because the design, I mean, yes, it has that Pilar look, Voxnez design, but now it looks even more pocket knife than the other models, and because of this pointed blade. And let me just really quickly grab a few knives here. Let's see. Okay. Let me see what, like, I don't have that crazy of designs of knives, but let me see here. So for me, this looks even more plain now, and kind of, well, come on, stay up there. It looks more like this knife now. Of course, you have these two holes here for your fingers, and you have an opening hole, but the blade shape now is just very bland to me. Even comparing it to the Kershaw Oh So Sweet, I mean, you now have a more knife-looking blade. So here is the CJRB Kalia, and this is, I don't currently have a Pilar with me, but this is very Pilar-esque, and I felt like the blade on the original was so unique, very, very utilitarian, very strong, very user-friendly, and it had this weird shape to it. Now, because of this blade, it just doesn't feel all that unique to me. Yes, it's controversial because a lot of people like it, but the other thing is this is, I believe this is a $60 knife. And see, now this is a Kershaw Ember, and yes, this is a very simply designed knife, but the blade has some very unique aspects to it. I loved the uniqueness of the original, and I wish that maybe they, instead of doing this, and I'm not going against Voxnez and his designs, he has great designs, but the thing is I like this pointed blade. Yes, it adds to being able to pierce through things and use it, but the thing is I would have liked to see maybe keeping that original blade, but maybe straightening the top, maybe making it a little more cute, maybe making it even bigger. I don't know. It's just, for me, I haven't connected with the blade, and the knife itself, handled down, is very cool, very Voxnez inspired, and it's, of course, it's one of his designs, but it just doesn't do it for me. Now let me put those away, and let me put those knives away and get back to this blade. The thing for me on this knife is that a lot of people have been praising it for its action and everything, and I think that's great, but just for me personally, I think it just looks like another knife. This really reminds me of just a lot of people are doing this now. Now that might be because people are setting trends. They're setting fads right now in the knife community and knife industry. And yes, that can be great, that can be good, but it can be detrimental sometimes. And for me, this knife just hasn't connected well with me. Now, the good things I think that are great on the knife, I love this backspacer. It's actual brass, or is it bronze? I think it's bronze, actually. The bronze backspacer is really cool. Stainless steel, I think that's really cool. But personally, I would have liked it if it was a G10 and it was a liner lock, because then you would have that matching black on each side, and you could have done a recessed liner and it would have been just black with this brass and then the blade. I mean, that's kind of a nitpick, but I think that would have been a cool way to go about it. The other thing that I think they've done really well is the lock bar. It's not overly jimped, but it's enough to get some tension. However, you kind of have to get your finger right in there to disengage this. But granted, the tension on this lock bar is very weak. So, I mean, it has some great things about it. I like it in those regards, but just for me personally, it has not connected with me. And when I first received this knife, and in my video, I really liked it. I liked the way it felt, but after using it, carrying it, I don't think I'm gonna pick one up. And just now, I don't know if you heard that, but you can hear that lock bar, like it has to be kind of pushed into position. Like I gripped it and I can feel it being pushed against the blade. And I just think that, and maybe its generic look, is why I'm not going to be buying it. Now, of course, also this might be because it's 60 bucks, and I'll just throw it out there. Civivi is doing some great stuff with knives for that price, with a lot better materials in QC and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, all those things, and they're doing a better knife. So this is a great attempt. I would, if I had to buy one, I would be buying the 8CR13 MOV model, primarily because I prefer that steel over D2. And I think it's a great third edition, but it's just not, it hasn't gelled with me. And that's just something that is going to be reflective of my opinion, but maybe you like this knife. And if you do, that's really great. I think that's really good. If you really like this knife, that's great. And if you have one that has a better tension regarding the lock bar, let me know in the comments. The other really great thing that I see CRKT putting out on a lot of their knives is this overextension, I guess, bar or pallet or billet. It's in the lock bar and it prevents you from overextending the lock bar. I think that's really great, especially given how weak that spring is. Not spring, but the tension on that. You could easily just push it the other way and then overextend it. And I think that's a great thing to have. And I think that's a really good thing to maybe even put on all the other models. I know that they have re-released the Squid by Lucas Burnley, and they've put a spring assisted feature in it. They've also added that overextension pallet. I really would like it if they maybe put all these improvements into the Pilar 1 and Pilar 2. If they did that, I think I'd have a little more respect for this knife, because then it'd be setting a trend for the 2 and the 1 and all those upgrades. But they didn't do that, and I think that kind of hurts this iteration. For me, I mean, this is just, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I'm gonna go about this review and what I think. And for me, it just doesn't gel with me. I wish they would do a few things differently on the knife and just go about it a little better. This is CRKT really trying, and I just feel like they got like a B-. You know, they could have done a B+, they could have done an A- or an A+, but for me, it's just an A, a B-. You know, it's good, but it's not amazing. And sadly, that's where I land on this. But other than that, it's good. I mean, it's a good knife. If somebody got me this knife, I wouldn't be like, well, I stand by my review, I'm not really going to carry it. I mean, I'd appreciate having it, but it's just not going to be my first choice or the first knife I buy in my shopping cart. So that's my review of the CRKT Pilar III, and I'm sorry, it just didn't gel with me, and this review really went the other way. I thought I was gonna really love this knife and really gel well with it, but you know, I need to be genuine, need to be honest, and I've really thought about this knife because a lot of people are reviewing it. That $60 price tag has a few people kind of not so much, not too interested on it, and also the QC issues that I've seen with this knife do not justify the $60 price tag. Now, of course, 60 bucks isn't a lot for a knife, but it's also not really that budget knife. I feel like a budget knife is 45 and under, whereas this is kind of in that mid 80 to, you know, 65. I'm starting to really think about other knives in that price range. So that is my review of the CRKT Pilar III. And if you guys haven't noticed already, I am using my new lighting. I did do a reveal of my new lighting and setup, and I think it's turning out great. If you guys think the knife looked good under the lighting and the setup I have right now, let me know in the comments. Let me know if I've maybe missed the mark on this CRKT Pilar III. If you guys have one and you've had a better experience, let me know in the comments. Just all of the above, let me know in the comments. And thank you guys so much for joining me for another video. I'm sorry this one went a little longer than usual, but this knife for me was a hard one to use and to review and think about because of all the things that I had ideas and thoughts on. So thank you guys again for joining me, and I hope to talk to you next time in the next video. Till then, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.